I have a question for you. Is it reasonable to believe that there is a literal God? Hello, I'm Tommy, friendly neighborhood atheist, and I've been contemplating this because a lot of people say there's perfectly good reason to believe there's a God, and I don't think there is. Because just because you can imagine something gives you no reason to believe that it's real. The world of Harry Potter, very imaginative, very real in the minds of children who've read the story, but they know it's not real, and there's no reason to believe that it's real. It's clearly made up, just like pink unicorns, clearly made up. No reason to believe that they are not real. But you cannot prove that they don't exist. You cannot prove that they are not real. Now, God has been around for, well, thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, and there's a clear mythology behind gods and how they came to be. And the Christian God is no exception. And it's been around for a long time, but it's a story. And there's no reason to believe that it is a real and actual God. I mean, a long time ago, when they had questions that they had no answers for, they created gods to give them the answers that they were looking for. The answers that they were desperate to have, but they didn't have the resources to find out the answers. But they needed the answers, so they created gods. And it's kind of true today. I mean, gods are to give answers to those frightening questions, like, why are we here? What is our place in the universe? What happens to me when I die? Those are the questions that have no real answer. And so there's a God to give you those answers. But just because you created something to give you an answer for those questions for which there are no answers, does not mean that there is a literal God. Just because you can imagine something does not make it real. Now, people have been imagining gods for a very long time, and I guess that gives it some substance to people of today. I think it must be real. People have been believing in God for thousands of years. But they believe in witchcraft too, for thousands of years. And there are people who still believe in witchcraft. Now, there are things that are reasonable to believe. Let's take the Higgs boson, for example. That is a particle that many people believe existed. And a great number of people believed it didn't exist. Now, theoretically, it made sense. It was the cause of gravity. But we didn't have it. We had a name for it, but there was no real evidence. We couldn't say, this is it. But those who believed it existed were very sure it existed. And they were wrong. And those who didn't believe it existed were very sure it didn't exist. And they were correct. Now, if you know anything about physics, you know that they did find the Higgs boson. So those people who were incorrect are now correct, and those people who are correct are now incorrect. And that doesn't really change anything. If God exists, fine, dandy. But there's no reason to believe it does exist until you have a reason to believe it exists. If it makes you feel better, that's fine and dandy. But you're still wrong. Until you can say something definitively, this exists, you're wrong in saying that it does exist. Because it doesn't until you can prove it. It's not up to me to prove it. I don't care. Like the Higgs boson, God not existing changes nothing for me. God existing, that might change things for me. But as it stands now, there is no God, and nothing is going to change. I can call it a belief, but I think it's a reasonable belief. Whereas believing that there is a literal God is an unreasonable belief. Now, I'm not worried about where I stand in the universe and why I'm here or what happens to me when I die. So I don't have those burning questions that need an answer. Therefore, I need no God. And if you need a God to answer those questions, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that God does exist. And don't throw out, DNA being proof of God. It's not. Flowers being proof of God. They're not. Trees, air, the perfect universe, which it's not. None of these things are proof of a God. They are only proof that you think that they are proof of a God, because you want there to be a God, so you're looking for anything that you can call proof. But until you can have something that is actual proof, and all those things have been proven not to be, there's natural things, so keep trying. Okay? Anyways, I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and that's what I think's reasonable.